I grew up not far from Niagara Falls, and when that was the only remotely interesting place to spend your time as a teenager, I'm naturally quite familiar with the splendor of the natural falls and the gaudy developments that populate the surroundings. A lot of those hotels that occupy this area are not always the best. Even those from reputable brands have suspiciously low reviews. But the Hilton Niagara Falls, I thought, had always seemed to be different. And perched on the 50th floor is a hotel suite unlike any other in the area. So join me and Emmi today as we take a look at the most ostentatious way to spend a night at the falls, and if it's really worth the eye-watering price associated. This video is sponsored by Babbel. Click the link in the description below to get 60% off your subscription. The Hilton Niagara Falls opened in the year 2000 with a single 34-story tower comprised of an impressive 516 rooms and a penthouse restaurant. This was during an era of substantial growth for the city as a larger tourist mecca in the Niagara region. Its location was strategic too, as right across the street, the government had planned the massive Fallsview Casino complex. The Hilton was apparently very successful, and 5 years later, the hotel's owners embarked on a $165 million expansion, adding an additional 500 plus rooms within a 53-story tower, higher than the iconic Skylon Tower. Since then, the property has seen a number of other renovations, and from my perspective, the Hilton has always been the standout hotel in Niagara Falls. Since I am intimately familiar with the area, I have of course been in and out of the Hilton on several occasions, but I've never really had a lasting impression. What I do remember though is when I learned about the presidential suites there. See, the rooms at the Hilton are pretty standard, as are most of the rooms across Niagara Falls. There are some standouts, and we'll talk about those later, but the suites at the top of the Hilton were always those cool pictures you would see shared around on Facebook. And I remember joking with my friends in high school that we could one day split the cost and stay there for one night just to see what it's like. Well, 9 years later, here we are. Down this liminal space hallway, you'll find our room, 50/50, what Hilton considers a 3-bedroom presidential suite, encompassing an impressive 1,500 square feet. Upon first entry, there are 2 directions to go. To your right, you enter the spare bedroom, or sitting area, I guess. It has a pull-out bed for the couch, a large TV, and an ensuite bathroom with huge windows that really make it feel luxurious and very unique. This room also comes complete with a balcony, the highest in all of Niagara Falls. Except, despite being told this on the phone when booking this room, the door is locked and the handle is just pretty much broken. I was told by the front desk that the hotel has now discontinued the use of all of their balconies. Kind of annoying since this room was marketed to me as having one, and I have seen people on it as recently as last year. Regardless, passing through the foyer and into the primary space, on your left you have the master bedroom. There you have a desk, a small closet, and strangely a queen-size bed. It is dressed up a little nicer with a fancy headboard, but all the linens are the same as you would find across the hotel. I presume the same goes for the mattress, all of which feels okay and not overly comfortable, but passable. Now, when you consider the price point for this room, I'm not sure if the same can be said. The ensuite bathroom, however, is pretty nice, with a double vanity, big jacuzzi tub, and a truly enormous shower with a steam function. The shower has a large rainfall head as well as side nozzles, which really do make for a luxurious experience. Finally, there's the primary living space, with a 6-seat dining table which looks like it can be extended, along with a wet bar and a fridge that really does not look like it belongs there. Further on is the living room with another desk, a full couch set, a faux fireplace, and some other side seating. Of course, all of this is complemented by the massive windows all around the suite. From the outside, you can see how massive this room is, essentially occupying both the northeast and northwest corners of the 50th floor. And that vantage point provides impressive views of Niagara Falls, both the Horseshoe Falls and the American Falls. During the summer, you can also enjoy the very unique perspective of the nightly fireworks shows here. You can also enjoy the other sights of the city, like the worst theme park in North America, the slowly deteriorating Marineland sign, the abandoned concrete foundation of the never-built Crown Plaza Hotel, and who can forget The endless parking lots. If you do get tired of the falls or just too darn depressed from all the crap developments around it, then with just a touch of the button, you can close all the shades on your windows, though it will not sound happy about it. There's also one more surprise about this room. You may have thought that the master bedroom doesn't have a view, but that's where you're wrong. Kind of. With a flip of a switch, this partition slides up, revealing the wonderful view from your tub. Into your living room? Okay, well obviously the intent here was to have a view of the falls, but that doesn't really work here, does it? Regardless, this suite at first glance is pretty nice. Lots of space and a spectacular view. But when you get a little closer, things aren't so sweet. A lot of touches in here are in pretty rough shape. From the floors, which have been immensely scratched up, not to mention coming apart entirely, to the main dining room, which is in quite bad condition. Some areas in here are just not being cleaned altogether. There was some hair left on one of the seats, and even a cobweb on one of the lamps. There were scratches everywhere, and signs of light paint touch-ups that looked like they didn't even use painter tape and just sloppily got it on the floor. The furniture within is really starting to show its age, and at a little over a decade without a renovation, the interior styling looks more like a dated hair salon than an ultra-luxury top suite. Now that's all very subjective and perhaps a bit nitpicky. Maybe you really love the look of this room. But what's a little more annoying to me, and something that I don't think can be excused, are how many things in here that are just straight up broken. Now each bathroom has a TV in it, and yeah, that's a luxury feature that we can all appreciate. However, unlike the other larger TVs that have been updated elsewhere in the suite, all three of these bathroom TVs are presumably from 2010, and while they do turn on, they won't play any visuals, only this icon with the station's sound. In the foyer, it's looking a little dark, and that's because the shade is down blocking the window behind it. The electronic controls for it, broken. As was the electronic fireplace beneath the living room TV, and even the Wi-Fi, for whatever reason, just wouldn't work. There's also just some weird quirks about this space, like how there's 3 different climate controls for the entire suite, but each one of them is a different model of thermostat. Perhaps my expectations going into this were a little too high or something, but honestly, I was pretty let down by this room. While it is nice at a glance and provides some very picturesque views, the core of the experience I just don't think lives up to the price. For a presidential suite in a city that's all about the experience and the wow factor, I would have expected their top suite to come with a little more luxury touches, like some elevated toiletries, maybe a Nespresso machine instead of a Keurig, a few nice robes, and maybe even some real flowers. Really, if a guest is spending this much on a room per night, a welcome gift or some sort of chocolate or bottle of champagne would be nice. I mean, at the end of the day, that's a tiny fraction of the overall profit made from this occupancy. But we didn't get any of that. Just fake flowers and overall the same room appointments as the rest of the hotel, just expanded with some other furniture. Alright, so what about the hotel itself? Well, the Hilton has 3 main dining options on site, those being Brazza, Corsa, and Watermark, the latter being the hotel's fine dining venue at the top of the South Tower. We decided to eat at Corsa, and I thought it was pretty okay. It was a prix-fixe and all-you-can-eat, with food that I would compare to a cruise ship's main dining room food. It certainly wasn't bad per se, but nothing that will blow you away. But I don't know if that's much consolation, because the bill came out for 2 people to be a little over $200, which, yeah, it's just not worth it. I've heard similar things from the other 2 establishments on site, which also receive mediocre reviews. Additionally, there is a brand new lounge/bar, along with a Starbucks and 2 quick service eateries and gift shops. If you're into fitness, well, the hotel just opened a new infinity pool not too long ago, along with a new gym. It's very scenic, but during our stay, every time we visited, it was uncomfortably busy, which is why I didn't get any footage of it. What's also new is the OLG stage, a massive auditorium that was actually built on top of the former pool and parking garage. It also happens to be the poster child for maybe the most bland and uninspiring interior design I have ever seen. It was like I was back in American Dream Mall. It was awful. So as you can see, there have been a lot of changes to this hotel in recent years. In some cases, completely altering areas of the property. Like this space used to be the main lobby, but now it has been partitioned off and turned into an extra space for an eatery. you could actually see how the interior design and architecture has changed. Initially, the theme of this resort was supposed to be modeled around a Tuscan village, but now it's just modern. Weirdly though, this former lobby area, which is a main thoroughfare by the way, isn't really taken care of, as the space is clearly decaying and suffering from some water damage. They moved the entire lobby slightly inwards and allocated a shockingly small sitting area for a hotel that has over 1,000 rooms. But if all of those amenities don't sound like your speed, the Hilton is also directly attached to the Fallsview Casino across the street via an enclosed glass bridge. There you can find all kinds of shops and of course the casino. If you're more interested in the falls, well, its location is either good or bad depending on what you're looking for. The Skylon Tower is very close, as is Margaritaville? Yeah, there isn't much in terms of nearby attractions unless you want to go indoor skydiving. The iconic Clifton Hill is around 1.5 kilometers away, or about a 20-minute walk. On the positive side, you're very close to the crest of the Horseshoe Falls, just a 0.5 kilometer walk away, and you get to use the fun incline railway, which will cost you $3 a person per trip. I want to take a quick second and thank this video sponsor, Babbel. Babbel is the best place to learn a new language and is one of the premier language learning apps, with lessons designed by real language teachers. For the last few months now, I've been learning to speak French, not only because I live in a country that's partially French speaking, but because Montreal is one of my favorite cities to visit. The predominant language there is French, and I'd love to actually know how to speak the language. Emmi and I have found their lessons to be super easy to comprehend and actually quite addictive over time. You can set daily lessons and spread out your learning over your own schedule. I've been at it for a little while now, and every time I return, I'm genuinely engaged with what I'm learning. So if you want to learn a new language and try out Babbel for yourself, click my special link in the description below and get 60% off your own Babbel subscription. And if it's not working for you, there's also a 20-day money-back guarantee. Merci beaucoup to Babbel for sponsoring this video and making it literally possible. Okay, so the current state of the Hilton Niagara Falls feels a bit Frankenstein together, and the tight passageways and dark hallways can be forgiven if this hotel didn't nickel and dime you. I'm sorry to say that is certainly not the case. I think my jaw actually hit the floor when we were told what the price for valet was. From Sunday to Thursday, it's $85 a night plus tax. And on Fridays and Saturdays, it's $100 plus tax. This is by far the most expensive valet service I have ever seen, and I went to go look up what the prices in places like Los Angeles and Miami are like for some ultra-luxury hotels, and most of them are half this price. Even for the Four Seasons Toronto, one of the most luxurious hotels in one of the most densely packed cities in North America, their valet is $56 a night. That's $20 less than what I paid to self-park. But you know what, I actually get why they're doing this. Niagara Falls is incredibly dense, and there really isn't any room for parking at all. $100. It doesn't get better with breakfast either, as I am an H-Honors Gold member, and that entitles me to a welcome gift of a complimentary breakfast for two. It was held in the Watermark restaurant, and we got a fabulous seat. But we were then informed that our complimentary breakfast was only good for a few bakery items, or $15 off anything on the menu. And of course, the prices on the menu were jacked up to oblivion. So we opted for what was free, and yeah, they were very fine. About the same quality as you'd get at a Fairfield Inn. I did ask if it came with any drinks, and I was told no. I would have to pay $5 for tea, a 25-cent tea bag, and water. All of this was kind of insulting, not only because we had the most expensive room in all of Niagara Falls probably, but it's because they know they can get away with it. Like, why is a cold cereal breakfast $18? What? Seriously, what is the justification for that? This is all to squeeze all the money they possibly can out of their tourist customers. Now you might be thinking maybe because this is technically attached to a casino, maybe it's like Atlantic City where rooms are super cheap and everything else is expensive to compensate, and they let the consumer decide. Yeah, no. Even the lowest category room with no view comes in at $191 a night. If you want to see the falls though, you'll be paying at least $248. I suppose that's not too bad, but after paying parking and taxes, that rate will easily surpass $300. I guess this is also a good time to reveal how much I paid for my presidential suite. For one night, the total cost was $1,574 with taxes. Yeah, it's a lot, and it's quite a bit more than their competitors' presidential suites, like the Sheraton Falls View, which can come in at around $1,100 a night, all in with tax. There's also the Marriott on the Falls, with theirs at just a little over $1,000. Though there's also an argument to be made that both of their suites are not as nice as this one. But considering the state of our room, I guess that's more of an indictment on Niagara Falls as a whole with its lack of luxury accommodations. Alright, so let's give this an actual rated score. I call it Jake's Is It Any Good score, and it's based on 5 categories, each out of 10, for a potential perfect score of 50 out of 50. Let's start with the location. The Hilton is close to Horseshoe Falls and the most popular casino in the area, but it's also a little far from everything else. It all depends on what you want, but I'll give it a 7 out of 10. Amenities are decent with a nice pool and fitness area, along with an on-site stadium, nearby casino, and a few mediocre restaurants and shops, all of which are overpriced with very little complimentary amenities. It's a 6 out of 10, and I think that's being generous. Our room had elevated features and some aspects that I would consider luxury comforts. Maybe 2010 luxury, but still. The hotel as a whole, well, it feels very run-of-the-mill corporate hotel with no real vision. Though the pool is nice for this hotel category, so I'm giving it a 6 out of 10. Service here unfortunately left a pretty bad impression. Most of our interactions with staff here were cold, awkward, and a bit uncomfortable. We didn't get anything special for our room, and nothing felt very premium, especially compared to other Hilton properties. It's a 2 out of 10. Value? Well, it's rough. This room is not worth the price, and it's a 2 out of 10. That brings the total score to 23 out of 50, lining up with the also abysmal score that Disney's Contemporary Resort got. So at the end of the day, don't do this. This was bad. No, this was terrible value for what we got. I really only see 2 purposes for this type of room and the potential customer it might have. It's clearly designed to cater to events, and many wedding parties and honeymoon stays are held here. From the beginning, it was marketed as a room type that would cater well to corporate events or larger gatherings, and I assume that's what this suite is used for 90% of the time. The other person I see snagging this suite is someone who wants the very best accommodation in Niagara Falls. Someone who has a nearly unlimited budget and wants the best possible room in a city with the best possible view. I don't know why this is, but this is probably that. And you'll need to do what I did and jump through some hoops to even book it. You'll need to call in, get the email of the hotel manager, send an email to them, and wait for a phone call back. It's convoluted, and after this stay, it's just not worth your time. But if you are looking to stay here, there is another presidential suite on the other side of the tower that is slightly smaller, but almost exactly the same. I was told that that one is often a bit cheaper, so save the money and do that. But really at the end of the day, I would rather spend a similar amount of money on a really well-appointed room in a really nice hotel. Unfortunately, that doesn't exist in Niagara Falls, and I don't know if it ever will. But in terms of staying here, well, you're probably better off not doing that. My advice to you is either spend your time in Toronto, or better yet, get a nice hotel from the Vintage Collection in Niagara-on-the-Lake, and make the short drive down to the falls for the afternoon. If you like this video and want to see me review another insane vacation product on the complete opposite end of the spectrum next month, subscribe to this channel so you don't miss out. My name is Jake, and thank you very much for watching.